Welcome to another episode of the Empowerment Platform, where our mission is to empower you to reach your goals wherever they may be. I'm your host, Tyrus Shivers, and I got with me my co-host, Mr. Corey Seague. How's it going, Corey?
Oh man, we all blessed on this side. Man, I got the LSU on today because I want to talk about something good. Man, hometown young man just set the SEC record. Kayshawn Booty. They say Booty on the thing, but it's Booty for those of y'all who don't know. That's that Louisiana thing. But shout out to him, man. I'm proud of you. I'm proud to see somebody from back home doing something good.
Absolutely. And let's get our particulars out of the way. Our little make sure you like and share the empowerment platform, because what we want to do is impact as many people as we can around the world. And we can't do that without you liking, sharing, following us on Facebook and YouTube. We got an IG at the empowerment platform. So just follow us, like, and share this information. You can also text empower to 443 230-5587. That's our exclusive text community. And that's where we're dropping a lot of information that we don't put out on the podcast. Corey, now tell me just a little bit about how your week went. And if, some takeaways, did you have some challenges? Were there anything that went very well for you? How was your week?
Oh man, I feel like my week was a whirlwind, man. There was some ebbs and flows in it, and I think for the most part it was pretty good. We went through our webinar, had a good turnout for that, and really helped some people map out that 2021. But man, and then we kind of hit a pitfall because I'm at the normal job, and man, it's just people start to fall off, or people get sick, and you kind of got to pick up the pace for them. But it's all good. There's just sometimes you can really tell. And for me, on the bright side, I looked at it and said, you know what? And for those of you who don't know, I have a group of coaches who work for me, but uh, that's how valuable they are, because when they're there, my job is easy. But when they wasn't there, I was like, let's go. And I got to pick the pieces up. So, man, it was a little bit rough for the week, but I tell you what, we capped it off. And for those of you listening, those of you who know who ET is, rock with the ETA fan, we capped it off, man. Tyrus and I had the pleasure of being interviewed, questioned about our business, about our progress, about um, like where we are in the speaking realm and the podcast and the man. Just so that was a nightcap for the week, even though it was in the morning.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I'm trying to find some social proof. People like social proof.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're always talking about well, we live in a guru age. Everybody's a guru now. Ain't even done that.
Let me get some social proof for the people. For the people.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can bring up a little bit of social proof. Bam. There you go.
Ooh, look at him. Hey.
Post it up. Get that picture. So yeah,
Yes, sir.
Corey and we got to spend some time with our awesome mentor, Dr. Eric Thomas, number one motivational speaker in the world. Got to explain and talk about how his impact along with others have helped us shape our businesses, our lives, and we just had a good time overall. So that is what it is. Corey, I know I sprung this topic on you, and this is why I like Corey. He is somebody who will just bounce at whatever I throw in his direction. And the topic I wanted to discuss, and I ain't even talked to Corey about it, I just told him right when before you guys are finding out. Talking about following conventional wisdom and thinking outside of the box. A research study called the Genius Study was done with over 1,700 of the world's most successful people. And it said that all these successful people had two things in common. One was they had awareness of who they were, and then they had authenticity. So they were authentic with who they were. They worked in their genius zone areas. There's another thing that came up about these people too. Well, and about all successful people is they don't follow conventional wisdom. That means they color outside the lines, they do their own thing, they innovate. And so, Corey, when you think about following conventional wisdom, because I've heard several stories that you've told about how people say, man, you're a little bit different. Talk to me about why you don't follow conventional wisdom and how that's helped you.
Yeah, and first off, I do want to say this, right? So I'm gonna give them a little quote. I don't know who said it, but I thought it was pretty cool because I always say there's an art and a science to this. So it says, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. And man, that was so deep for me because, and I mean, when they say deep, it was affirming for me because the life that I live from a child to even being an adult in my job, in my business, people always say, like we hear these terms, right? Tyler's like, follow the process, just stick to the process. But the process is different for everyone. There are principles that we should follow, but then you got to make it your own. And so man, I'm thinking about like even just at work. So for those of y'all, again, for those of you who don't know, I got coaches who work for me. I have associates who work for me or whatnot. And I hate saying work for me. They work with me. So I don't even want to put it out there like that. But man, everybody say, oh man, Corey, you just like to color outside the lines. And I'm like, yeah, because the lines and you got the little dinosaur figure that's drawn in there. And the lines are great. The lines just tell me how far I can go outside the lines. Because sometimes you get a little too far outside the line. And that's when you start to get in trouble. My cousin always said, he said, you got to drive straight and turn right. And we can go into that in a little bit. But man, it's so pivotal. And something that we even heard today from a lot of these really big time people, these celebrities, was saying, I put my own spin on it. My worst gigs were when I tried to do what they wanted me to do. My best gigs is when they say, you know what? I just need you to be you. And so I've seen this time and time again where I've had associates promote, I've had people start businesses, I've helped coach people through life circumstances. And the reoccurring theme behind everything was just be you. And if you just be you, you'll be perfectly fine. Because the thing is, people buy into who you are and they attach themselves and they see where you come from. And I was telling Tyrus just now, matter of fact, I was like, man, even my mama used to tell me, man, you know, it don't work like that for everybody because everybody don't think like you. And I used to hate that term because I was like, well, why do I think so different? Why do I think like this? And then I realized, you know what, that's not a bad thing. Because, and I even just Googled this just now. This article right here where I said the success of people who follow the rules. And the number one article popped up, Tyrus, and it said these 11 entrepreneurs broke all the rules. So I even tried to find articles where people follow the rules. And the immediate thing I found was that these are 11 entrepreneurs that broke the rules. Some of these names I don't know, but some of these companies I do know. Like Jet Black, which is like for the runways and stuff like that. I don't know what the infatuation is. But these folks is making money from what I'm seeing right here. Thought Spot, whatever that is. Soko Glam, I have heard about that. They were actually one of the first people who started leveraging community for like to selling stuff.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, I mean, it just really goes to show that when people go into business, they buy into who you are, what you do, what you're about. And sometimes that's not in a rule book. And, you know, I always talk about, if y'all catch my Monday videos, I always talk about being attentive. And when you're attentive, sometimes you got to break the rules. You know, there might be a death in the family. Man, the rule book don't necessarily say that this can happen. Okay, let me make that call. There might be a circumstance that this individual goes to. We talked about this before. Individual, their mom had a seizure. She was like, oh man, but I'm scared because I might lose my job because I just got in trouble because I didn't have the prior time approved and all that stuff. And I was like, man, if you don't go home, and I just told her, hey, if they got a problem, tell them come see me. But those are the types of things where you got to start to push the line. You got to start to say, well, if the rule book said this, then yeah, you can't go see about your mama because you have to have prior time approved. But you got to color outside the lines. And man, that was one of the things. And you kind of perked up when I started talking about it. But I'm interested to kind of see where your journey went as far as coloring outside them lines, doing unconventional things, because I know that my life is painted with the unconventional.
So, absolutely. You know, Corey, when we think about the way we grew up, there was a conventional wisdom. You put your head down, you keep it down, you work hard, and you'll be okay. That's conventional. And, you know, I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, but I do study history. And when you look at societies, organizations, companies, businesses, governments, there needs to be a working class. And so it's developed and designed for people to move or be moved along a specific path so they can get into that position that they need to be in. Now, those who, and we can start in school, as long as you follow the rules, do what the teacher asks you to do, sit in your desk nice, do your homework, don't question, you're all right. You good. You're a productive student. And those who don't do that, they don't behave, they misbehave. However, those are some of the most gifted kids, and their gift is stifled. And so then they become adults whose gifts have been stifled that end up in the 9 to 5, the hamster the wheel, the rat race, whatever you want to call it, because we all follow that conventional wisdom. For me, I knew that conventional wisdom would get me in a job that where I would just work all my life, retire, and hope to be okay. I learned that in order to be successful, you had to think outside the box. You had to come up with solutions to common problems, and you had to be able to be different. And I think that when it says that most successful people don't follow conventional wisdom, it's because there's no way. If you follow conventional wisdom, you're just doing what everybody else is doing. And there's no ingenuity, there's no innovation, there's no way outside of that box. You're just all in the box together. And so for me, I thought about what could I do different? How can I be different? How could I look different? What are some ways I could make an impact on the world in an innovative manner? And, you know, now we start to, because people are trapped, they're trapped in thinking, and it's in that one way of thinking. This is the only way you can do this. This is the only way this should be. This is how it's always been. If we all did what we've always done, how can you be different? How can you grow? How can you change? If Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Martin Luther King Jr., any of the people that you want to name just followed conventional wisdom and did what they were told to do, we wouldn't be where we are today. You had people inventing things. Man, the internet, the computer, electronics, when those things first started coming out, people were saying they were evil. Evil. And now they are a part of our everyday lives. When the Wright brothers first started talking about trying to fly, their dad, who was a preacher, that's evil. I forbid you to do that. And everybody else called them crazy. But now we flying in airplanes all over the place. So thinking along the lines and staying inside of conventional wisdom will trap you. Now, I'm not saying you throw everything away, you throw all rules away, you just do what you want to do and be chaotic. That doesn't make sense either. But like Corey said, you got to figure out where the lines are and then figure out if they make sense. And can we push the boundary? Can we think a little bit further? Can we move the edges along? And can we propose something that may be different and that's better? And I think that with advances in medicine, advances in vaccinations, advances in scientific research, space exploration, had we stayed thinking the way they thought in the Middle Ages about that kind of stuff, when Galileo was out there being unconventional, they called him crazy, a sorcerer, evil, all these different things. And now we have all of the things that we enjoy because of that. And so for the people listening, what I don't want them to do is get trapped in conventional wisdom. And here's the other trap. And I want you to talk to this, Corey. Go to school, graduate, go to college, graduate, get you a good job, stable job, a career, work 40, 50 years and retire. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the path that I was on at once. It was I knew success meant go to school, go to college. From college, you get the job. You get the job, you work up the job. Hopefully, you can eventually get a great salary. You're gonna pay these loans off, you're gonna pay these debts off. And then I almost attribute it to, and it's kind of if y'all catch where I'm going with this, it's kind of like a Dave Ramsey method, but for your life. And so you work on doing this one thing, and then you finally get that done, and then you pour all that into this next thing, and then you finally get it done, and then you finally pour off in the final thing, which is just working your job. And then eventually you can maybe one day live the life you need, because you can save a lump sum of money up finally for you to actually enjoy life. And that's what I mean by like the Dave Ramsey method. If you don't know what I'm talking about, definitely go check that out, because he talks about eliminating debt in that way. But there's also other ways of getting rid of your debt, but living your life, I should say, in this case, when it's you don't necessarily have to take these steps. We live in a world where information is king. And so if you can solve my problem, you may not need a college degree. And I was talking to an individual, she wanted to consult in some schools and stuff. And she said, well, I probably just need to go back and get my master's degree, because they won't take me serious. And then it will make my work be more valuable for them. And I was like, well, so getting this MBA, getting a degree, I say you don't want to get the MBA just to further your knowledge. You just want to get it to validate your knowledge. And she said, yeah. I said, then why is it not valuable now? The degree, the piece of paper, no knock to anybody. The paper that you get is not going to validate the value that you're presenting. So if you want to go get the knowledge, hey, that's perfectly fine. But don't think so linear as to think that, okay, for me to be validated, I need this paper to say that I know the X amount. What if you had testimonials? What if you had other school districts? What if you had friends that were in your school, she used to be a teacher? What if you had friends that were teachers that you tried this stuff on, and then their grades and scores and their classroom engagement skyrocketed? You don't think other schools would be like, and other teachers would be like, well, what is going on over here? People don't care about what you have or have not done as far as the letters behind your name or your credentials. They want to see results. I think, but we're fashioned like that. You go to school, did you get A's or not? Yeah. What's your GPA? What's your official transcript say? What classes did you take? Because they're all trying to validate you. Even if you think about it, a lot of times you walk up to somebody, and I don't do this, I just genuinely like knowing what people do. So they'd be like, so what do you do?
Yep.
It's never the question to be like, I'm just interested to know what you do. It's like, I'm gonna know how to approach you after this. But you have to push the envelope. And I do believe that pushing the envelope and I'm gonna just keep saying coloring outside the lines, like unconventional paths, those separate the dreamers from the doers. You have a lot of people who are the doers because they went to school, got the job, got the kids, got the car, got the house. We're good. We go to Olive Garden every now and again. We live a pretty decent life. No knock to anybody that's thinking like that. But there's some people right now that's listening to this that's stuck. And you're like, well, everybody keeps saying, just like they did for you, Corey. Everybody keeps saying, man, no, everybody don't think like you. Yep. Everybody doesn't want to do these other things. And here's how I'm going to break it down. Because, Tyrus, I believe people are afraid to tell me what their dreams are. And the reason I say that is because every time I question someone, I say, would you ever love to have more money? And they're like, oh, yeah, if I could just get a raise, if I could get more money. I said, if I told you that I'd give you $1 million, you meet me under this bridge in California, I said, how quick would you be there? They'd be like, oh, man, immediately.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So you want more money, right? So that's a goal that you want. But
I'm not sure. You decide.
I guess Google gonna tell me that they was trying to listen to me. But the thing is, you won't take steps. You won't push the envelope. You won't go get that because it is obtainable. you won't go actually take the steps to do it because it's not within the box. And so these people tell me their dreams and goals and all these other things, but they're not willing to go get it. And that's what I mean by the unconventional thinking, the methods that may not make sense to some people, that's not in a box. You don't, those separate the dreamers. Elon Musk. If Elon Musk said, well, nobody's ever done that before, I'm gonna just leave that alone.
Right.
Will we even have Tesla and SpaceX and all that stuff today? So, and I'm gonna kick it over to you because it looked like you got something to say. But yeah, I just think that those who don't walk the fine line, who do say, you know what, this is what I'm trying to do, and this is where I'm going with it. And yeah, maybe somebody hasn't done it, or maybe this isn't the most proper way to do things. I'm fine with that.
And you should be able to express who you are, express the way you would do something, because if we are concerned with just doing it the way everybody else does it, how do we know if it's going to change or be better or anything like that? And this conversation, because I don't think most people think about it, they just want to follow in the same path and footsteps that somebody else did for them, just like our partner. We're going to bring up our partner, Aisha. She makes sure that we follow the rules, the procedures, the regulations, and then the coloring outside the line kind of brings that makes it uncomfortable for her. But that's why we partnered, because she recognized that, okay, there's some areas that I'm not comfortable in that you guys may be comfortable in. And then there's some things that she brings that says, okay, let's make sure that we don't get too far to stay balanced. And that's what it's about. Do you have people around you that can help you see different opinions and maybe help you get outside of that? I call it the rat race, because most of the listeners out there are those 9 to 5 people that are trying to figure out, how do I get out of this rat race? You just got to step outside the box and think differently. It's got to be different. And thinking outside of, or living out of conventional wisdom, that creates our Section 8 people that they follow a certain path, and now I'm stuck in this path, and I'm going to teach this to my kids. This is how we live. This is the way to live. You can't get ahead because of this is the neighborhood. These are the problems. This is the environment. This is the impact. And when those kids dream a little bit, they just try to dream a little bit, somebody swoops right in and crushes them. It was Malcolm X in his movie, when he was young, he wanted to be a lawyer. No color kid can be a lawyer. How about you go be a carpenter? Pigeonholed.
Mm-hmm.
Think now, we know that all people path, they go a specific journey, and he went his journey and became who he was. But I wonder what difference, it would have been a major difference, no doubt. But what difference it would have been in his life had that teacher nurtured him and said, you know what, you can become an attorney. Not many colored attorneys are out there, but it's possible. And he went in there because he was a great orator. He was great at debating. He had the skill set, but his dream was crushed. So if you're listening, and especially if you're parents and you have kids and they're thinking outside the box, they're coloring outside the line, they're being innovative, they're bringing a different perspective than what the conventional wisdom says that they should be thinking, are you crushing their gifts? Are you holding them back? Are you placing what you think on them as far as this is the way you got to go? And I've been seeing lately, more people are saying, you know what, my kids don't have to go to college if they don't want to. They don't have to get a degree if they don't want to. Let me teach them about things that will help them even more, such as wealth building, financial literacy. We can go deep into why they don't teach those things in school. Why don't the schools teach children financial literacy? Why don't they teach them innovation, creation, entrepreneurship, how to be an owner and not a consumer? Our school systems teach our kids to consume, to follow, to obey, and to stay in the rat race. And the teachers, there are some bright teachers out there who are afraid to color out the lines because it ain't in the curriculum. Because if I go outside this curriculum, I might lose my job. And so it's a vicious cycle. The point, or the next step, or the next phase, Corey, and I want to get your thoughts on how do we change this? As a parent, I can teach my kids whatever I want to teach them, and they're going to have a leg up and be ahead because of the information I can share. But how do we get this information to other people? How do we get parents thinking a different way? How do we get them to disseminate or pass that information to their children? And then how do we get the education system and those around us to also start cultivating creativity and innovation versus killing it?
Yeah, and so here's the thing, and I'm gonna be contradictory because I'm about to give y'all some rules to follow, but
Break them.
these aren't your conventional rules. So these aren't rules that say, hey, you have to do this every time. Here's the thing. These are guidelines on how successful people time over again have became successful. And I'm not even talking about successful like money and all this other stuff. I'm talking about rich in the mind. So check this out, Tyrus. And for those of you listening, if you're a parent, if you plan on having kids, if you're a young man, a young woman growing up, that's like, you know what? How do I really get out of this rut? How do I really think better? I'm gonna tell y'all this. So the first rule: when you think about somebody with a poor mindset, or maybe a consumer mindset, I should say, because again, like Tyra said, we were taught to consume. Those consumers think about, what value can I take from you? When you really start to produce, and you really start to say, what can I get for you? What can I do for you? That's when your life starts to level up. So number one, give the value to someone. And I guarantee you it's going to push you to say, okay, well, how do I give the best value? And then you will start to develop yourself. Then you will start to turn yourself into, oh, I need to be specialized in this lane. Because here's the thing we just talked about. You don't necessarily need a degree, but you just need a plan. If you don't go to college, then what's the plan? Don't just plan on being like, well, I'm going to just get this PS5 and I'm going to sit at home all day, because then you're going to look up 10 years from now and be like, well, that didn't quite work out. And I think that college provides the structure for people because they don't have a plan, but then they go out into the world. Because if you really think about it, the degree that you get outside of like a medical degree, lawyer, engineer, chemist, something like that, if it's not specialized like that, then to be honest with you, it doesn't happen. I've worked with people who have degrees in basket weaving. I'm gonna just be honest. They were smart people. They could comprehend, they could critically think, and all that other stuff. They just had a degree in basket weaving, and I'm not even sure how you get into that, but I get that was the thing they wanted to do. But just remember, so the first rule is to give, stop taking, because when you give, you're gonna push yourself, and it's almost like a high, kind of. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tyrus, because if I'm helping people as I'm giving value to people, it's almost like everything around me starts to rise up. And now I'm like, oh, this is nice. This is nice. But I never have to worry about things coming to me because I'm so busy giving. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, thanks. Thanks for that. Oh, thanks for that. And it's just coming my way now. So here's the second rule. People with the consumer mindset, or like the poor mentality, I guess you could say, that crab in a bucket mentality, they see problems. People with rich mentalities, with producer mentalities, they see gaps to fill. They see opportunity.
Ooh, don't pass by that. Break that down between just seeing problems and seeing opportunity in the same situation, because that's what you're saying. Same.
Yeah. Because so we can look at the same thing, and I don't know, Tyrus, I'm gonna bounce this off of you. Give me a situation to where somebody could like, woe is me.
Oh, easy. COVID-19.
Yeah. So most people have been saying, oh man, COVID-19 has been tragic and all these things. And I just had this conversation the other day. They said, oh man, but there's people losing jobs and losing all stuff. And I said, man, it's not because of COVID-19 that you have problems. It was something going on in your life that was a gap that you didn't have solidified. That's why you had issues. Now, I'm going to tell y'all a funny story in a second, because I was like, I see people who lost their job 4 months ago, all of a sudden posting that they got brand new Audis a month ago. I don't know what type of job you have, but that was definitely an opportunity to fill in, I guess, if you had it like that. But I used this opportunity, and I told my team, I told my associates, I told everybody around me when this first started. I said, we're going home. I said, you're going to have a lot of time to yourself. I said, even the time that it takes for you to commute to work in Houston, it takes forever to commute. Unless you live right outside your job, you can almost bet on that you're going to have at least an hour commute, maybe collectively. And that's on the short end. Sometimes folks is traveling an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to get to work. What books can you read? What knowledge can you figure out? What betterment can you figure out? You keep saying you hate your job, you want to find your passion. What can you do to find your passion in the meantime? Right now you're at home and you don't have anything better to do. You're not spending money. What can you invest in? And
Ooh.
some people would be like, well, it's coronavirus, so I don't have money to invest. Well, if you stop eating out, if you buy some groceries, if you stop spending money all over on Amazon on these random things, now all of a sudden you have money. Again, somebody lost their job and then posted that they bought a brand new Audi the other day. I'm just saying. But those are things where you say, okay, what gap can you fill? 2020 has been great for me. I know it's been great for Tyrus.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
but you see that people with a rich mentality, with a producer mentality, say, okay, well, it doesn't matter the circumstance. I'm still going to win. But what are the steps that I need to take to win? What is the gap in this? Or what is I guess, the downfall that I can then fill in and say, you know what? Maybe I do have to work at home. Maybe I can't go anywhere. I'm very much a person to where I do like to go. I'm not a big party person like that, but I like to go around my friends. I like to go out into restaurants and stuff like that and check them out. I can't do that. Okay, well, maybe for someone with a poor mentality, and I'm just trying to put this in layman's terms, someone with a poor mentality would say, man, I just got to keep eating out because I don't know how to cook. Somebody with a rich mentality will say, you know what? I got plenty of time to learn how to cook at home.
Right. Exactly.
So you have to understand, what gaps are you filling? The poor person, the poor mentality person will say, woe is me, I don't have, and these are the hand that I was dealt and all that other stuff. Where a producer, a person of rich mentality will say, well, cool, now I have an opportunity to do this. Good. It's almost like every time someone with a producer mindset, when something happens, they're like, cool, okay. But they know how to pivot from there because they enjoy learning how to see what was the gap, what was the learning opportunity from this. So let me talk to you about rule number 3. And Tyra, stop me if you got anything to add to these things.
Only thing I got to add to that rule number 2, which when you said, is people love to say that I got dealt. It's just a hand I got dealt. If you're a spades player, if you're a poker player, if you whatever, if you play dominoes, it's not about what you get dealt or what you pull. It's how you play it. You could take a horrible hand, and this goes back to partnership and surrounding yourself. You can have a terrible hand, but your partner got something. If you know how to just play the hand right, it might blow up for you and it'll be supportive. And so the mentality that Corey is talking about, the rich, the poor, and like they said, poverty is a mindset. And that sounds so, to a person that doesn't have much, that sounds like, oh, it's a mindset. You saying something wrong with my mind? Yes. They call it stinking thinking. You have a choice to make to stop consuming. Jim Rohn said that his mentor Earl Schoaf told him that I could tell how much is in your bank account by what your library looked like. There are secrets. There are secrets to this thing. We all, and it's all about content and information. And Corey, you go back to that. You've talked about that. I'm gonna let you get to point 3. You talked about, if I got a hammer and I can just swing the hammer, what good does it do if I don't know where to swing it?
Yeah.
So information and application. There are people who lack information, but are you really seeking that information? Are you looking for that next step? Or are you more concerned with watching Housewives of whatever city, or watching the football game, or doing whatever you want to do that you call fun and was killing your time, but then you want to complain about where you are and what stage you're at in life? I see so many people in one breath, man, I just want something different. I'm tired of doing this. I'm tired of doing that. But then on the next post, and this is why you can't put all your business on social media, because half the people are contradictory. The next post is, well, I just got caught up on Netflix. I binge watched this season for like 14 hours. That's 14 hours of work that you could have been doing instead of wasting your time. All right, go ahead with point number 3. I can go all day on
And
this.
no, and so I'm a. If you remember, you actually talked to one of my team members a while back, and she wanted to get into real estate. She said, "Hey, I'm trying to flip houses and stuff like that." She's trying to do the wholesaling thing right now. And on the flip side, I know another individual. She was like, "Man, I would really just love to get into real estate and all this other stuff." She actually just closed on her first house about 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
Information during a time where she ain't had nothing better to do. Action. On the flip side, you have another individual who kept saying, I've known this person for about 2 or 3 years now. Man, I'm trying to get into real estate. I'm trying to do the real estate thing. I want to do the real estate thing. And every time I say, okay, so what are you trying to do? What have you learned? What are you ready to do? Man, well, I'm just trying to save some money right now. Okay, cool. So once you save the money, then what? So what do we, you know what I'm saying? So now you got a whole lump sum of money and now you don't have any information. Congratulations. Yep. But anyway, I digress. So rule number 3, the poor-minded people, the poverty-minded people, the consumers, they tend to, and I'm trying to articulate this right, they tend to gravitate toward negativity. Producers, richly minded people, they don't tolerate that. Right. All that negativity, all that mess, all that, man, did you hear about such and such? Man, I don't care what they say. Man, did you hear about that one too? I don't care what that, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's irrelevant to my life right now. And granted, yes, there are some things that are insightful. So I'm not saying that the first time your friend walk up to you and they like, girl, did you hear about this? You might be able to extract something from that situation, but we all know those people who know all the mess.
Yep.
And they know the word on the street, and they know who been getting cheated on, and they know who got fired from their job, and they know this person that went bankrupt and all that other stuff. Meanwhile, you living in a glass house. And the minute that rock fly through that house, it's all coming down. Consumers, they think like that. Producers will say, I don't care what this person has. I'm too busy doing something else. I'm too busy pouring into me. I'm too busy. And I think this was John Maxwell said something like this. He said, it's not about the people that you hang around. He said, it's about the conversations that you have with them.
Ooh. Oh, take us there.
He said, because if you just sit in a room with 4 or 5 millionaires, then no, you're not going to become the 6th, because osmosis doesn't happen and you just become. He said the conversations that they have push you and move you to go do something. And I was like, that's it. The application behind it, because before we're saying in theory, if you hung around enough people with money, enough successful people, enough people who are doing what you want to do, therefore you will get it. But it ain't that. It's the conversations you're having. It's the application, because if we have these conversations over and over and over again, guess what you tend to start do? You go, all of a sudden, you starting to do that. And something you said today, you were talking about how, your real estate stuff. And we talked about even beforehand, you said that, and I correct me however I said that, you said that there was a guy who said the first person he hired was a CEO to run his company.
Yep.
But he had to, check this out though, Tyrus had to go get that information from somebody, that way he could act on it. Without the information, he can't do nothing. And so he's running it just by himself. So before I move on to that, what you got anything on rule number 3?
Nah, you good with 3. You good with 3. Carry on.
So look, check this out. So this rule number 4. And this is gonna hurt somebody. And I'm gonna try to put this in a way that it don't sting. So I just talked about the mess and the negativity and all that stuff. Consumers and poverty-minded people, they talk about events and people. The producers, the richly minded people, the wealthy minded people, they talk about ideas. But then I'm gonna say you, the phenomenal people talk about ideas and then go execute on that. Because if there's one thing I can't stand is a room full of people just talking.
Just talking. Yeah. Yeah.
Lord have mercy. If that and I'm gonna shout out my mama real quick, because Lord, I be getting frustrated on the phone with the tires, because see, but man, I'm about to do this, and I'm gonna do, and then I come back and I'll be like, Mama, you did it yet? And she's like, Nah, I ain't did it. Okay, I don't want to talk about this no more, because I hate talking about ideas. I like talking about action. Like I want to not just see that, okay, we just keep throwing ideas out on a whim that things sound great. And yes, me and my friends are always talking about ideas, but then we don't never do nothing about it. And we all go back to our job where we complain about how much we're making and the people that we're around and all that other stuff. Rich people talk about ideas and then execute on those said ideas.
That's good. That's good. And to piggyback off of that, my mentor, my late mentor, very first mentor I had, he used to always say that when he learned that when he wanted to be wealthy, what he had to do, he had to think wealthier thoughts. It's just not enough to want to be wealthy. You have to start thinking, how do I do it? Where do I do it? How do I find it? Where do I go? How do I get the information? How do I change? And so thinking about that, it's like you said, just because you're surrounded by people. So the first step is to get surrounded by people that's going to take you somewhere else. Then apply, then execute, and then think outside of the box, out of the norm. Because every person that I bet if you went to successful people and asked them the path, they're going to tell you, okay, this is some of the blueprint, but you got to figure out the rest of it. You got to make your own way. You got to make it you, because that is what changes you. It's your stamp, not somebody else's. I'm looking at a quote. Well, it's not a quote. It's something from Dr. Miles Monroe from his from Inspiration. It said that some women have settled for being secretaries in a company when God intended for them to be presidents of their own company. As a matter of fact, what is inside of you is measured by the demands placed on you by the one who made you. The Creator is the only one who can tell you what you are worth, and He gives us work to help us understand our full capacity in Him. And so when we talk about work and talk about finding your purpose and thinking about moving outside the box, what is it that you know in your heart of hearts that you were put here to do? And I think that so many people allow society and just that process to take away what they were meant to do. So Corey, if you could tell me right now, what in your heart, what were was you meant to do? And then when you were going through college, were you doing that thing?
So in my heart of hearts, I am meant to, and it's going to be the cliche word, I'm meant to serve. But here's the thing. I know how I should serve. So for me, I know there's some hustle in me. I know that I can place myself in situations, even walk through the fire, and come out with more knowledge, with more money, with more know-how. And because I'm okay doing that, because I can put myself in those situations, and I have realized over time that I do have a gift to where I can receive info, break it down this big, and then be like, this is all you have to do. So I realized that I do have that gift. And so that my purpose in life is to use that gift on other people, where other people may be thinking, man, it's just so much to be able to do this. And I'm like, nah, actually, all you have to do is X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And they're like, but bingo. And now their whole life has changed. Or maybe they're in a job function. And I'm like, actually, if you really think about it, all you got to do is this, this, and this. And they're like, oh, that makes complete sense. Why don't people explain it to me like that? Because that may not be their gift, but my gift is to serve people in a fashion that I can disseminate information. I can put you in places. I can connect you with people, surround you with the right tools for you to be able to then take that and move on. Now, here's the thing. When I was in college, I had absolutely no clue.
Okay.
Zero clues as to what I should be doing. My thought of what I should do, because I said, you know what? I really like helping people. My thought on what I should be doing to help people was to be in the healthcare field.
Ah,
because that's the only thing that I knew. That's how you help people. If you became a doctor or a nurse or a physical therapist or some type of healthcare person, that's how you help people. And in reality, I then learned healthcare is mighty reactive. You never hear doctors talk about, but if you just do this thing proactively, you won't have to worry about that. I don't know how many times I've heard friends, myself, even going to the doctor, my family going to the doctor, and they say, you know what? I had a really good session with my doctor because he said, as I'm moving into these years, maybe this needs to tweak in my diet, or maybe I lost a little bit of muscle mass, so maybe I need to up this in my diet or something like that. Or maybe, um, you know, I don't have these issues right now, but maybe I should try to incorporate these things in my life. You don't hear that.
right.
But they really gonna wait for that heart disease to hit, or they gonna wait for something to happen to you, and then be like, "You said what happened? Okay, cool. I got a prescription for that." And then they're gonna write on that prescription. Now come back and see me if you need some more.
Yep.
And I'm not knocking anybody in the healthcare field. That's the nature of the beast. Now you do have some people, and shout out to those who I do know who are in the holistic medical field, and they are under the impression that if I can proactively address these concerns, if I can tell you what to do now, that way you never have to come see me, I'm okay with that.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I'm gonna go back just a second because I actually found what I was looking for from Dr. Miles Monroe, and I want the people to listening to hear this. A lot of times we trapped in our job and our career, and we confuse work with job. And here's the definition: your job is your career. It's what you do. It's what you go and you get paid for. Your work is what you were born to do. And Dr. Miles Monroe said, no kind of educational system can teach you your true work because it is your life purpose and is revealed by your God given gifts. So there are many people out there working jobs in careers that don't match their gifts. And I don't know if it's because your gift has been stifled and you buried it, or because you're just trying to make a living and get by. But if you have that burning desire inside of you, if you have that thought process that this just not where I'm supposed to be, this doesn't match my skill set, my gifts, and not to say you can't be good at your job, because you can learn to be good at your job. But is your job the work that you were born to do? Is it the purpose for your life? You can't be taught that. It has to be revealed to you, and then you have to operate inside of it. So that's the difference between job and work. And I want you to break free of the conventional thinking of getting a job and keeping that job all your life, even if it makes you unhappy. There are a lot of people trapped in things that make them unhappy. That's why they go to work. It's just okay. How's your career coming? Oh, it's okay. And then they seek something that is not conducive to where they need to be. It's not going to take them anywhere. And you have a lot of people that just end up hating life doing what they have to do. But I submit to you that if you just get outside of that conventional wisdom, that mainstream wisdom, it's not even really wisdom. It's actually ludicrousy to think about it. It's nonsense to trap yourself in something that makes you hate getting up every day instead of just stepping out and say, you know what? I might have to suffer a little bit. I might have to. Cord, people will grind and eat noodles to pay for their college degree that they're not going to use,
Correct.
but they won't grind and eat noodles to pay for a business they can start.
That will make unlimited amounts of money.
Unlimited. Because when you work a job, when you have a career, you're limited to what the owner tells you. I listened to a guy the other day. He went on live and he talked about this. He said, and I don't know the whole story back to back, word for word, but this is the gist of it. A guy work hard 12 hours every day of the week, working hard. The owner, the CEO, comes up and says, you know what, you're doing a great job for us. We enjoy everything you're doing. You're great. And the guy looks at me and says, you know what? That's a nice car you're driving. It's so nice. It's so expensive. And he said, you know, if you just keep doing what you're doing, keep working hard, keep producing, keep giving us that, I'll be able to get another one next year. He is working. And, you know, it's crazy, that story, but that's what we do. We go and work ourselves to death for a company, and the CEO of that company benefits. Now, I do understand, and this is kind of contradictory. Everybody's not in a position to run their own company. However, you can get in situations where you can do a little bit better than where you are. At least get into an organization or a company or a job that works with your talents and your gifts. Corey is a people person. His talent is team engagement. Why would Corey go get a job fixing computers? Can Corey learn to fix computers? Of course he can. Should he learn? Absolutely not.
I'll be in there beating my head over.
Beating it over. And that's likewise for the person who prefers to work alone, who prefers to work in the back, who prefers to build things. They shouldn't be in customer service, nor should they be in a business. They shouldn't start a business doing customer service because it's not their gift. And so I know we're talking about thinking outside of conventional wisdom, thinking outside the box, coloring outside the lines. But what are your gifts, and do you know them? Do you know what your natural talents are? What your purpose is? And once you identify that, we can help you with the Acting Lead Insights. We can help you identify your gifts. We can't help you identify your purpose, though. We can't help you identify the gifts and the talent. You have to figure out what that purpose is and make sure that you live in that life. Corey, as we start to wind this thing down, what are 3 things that people can take away from thinking outside the box? I guess, how do you do it? How do you begin to dream again? And I know we've been talking about that the last couple of weeks, just imagination, dreaming, innovating, becoming a producer. What are just 3 quick things that people can do to start doing that?
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue into what I was about to say just now on the topic you were talking about. The first thing is you need to you haven't figured out. This is gonna sound stupid. You haven't figured out what your purpose is because you haven't tried to figure it out. And so, as simple, as crazy as it sounds to say it, but it's so simple because I talk to individuals that, man, I know there's more to life than what I'm doing right now. And then the next question I say, well, what have you done to try to figure that out? Ah, nothing. Well, how you gonna know? You don't know what's out there. You don't know what different avenues you can go. You don't know what different jobs there are. You don't know what different businesses you may be able to create. Man, you got a kid that's unboxing toys. That's a millionaire on YouTube.
Millions. Innovation.
You know what I mean? And so the thing is, his purpose is not unboxing toys, but that kid's purpose is probably enlightening people on products. It might be, providing an experience for people. It might be him pouring into his energy into other people. That way they can be uplifted. That may be the purpose behind what he's doing it for. It's not unboxing toys. But the first step you have to do, you have to move. If you don't move, you won't move.
Yep.
I know I keep saying like these crazy little things like that, but if you don't move, you don't move. And that's in anything. Tyrus, it's always funny how someone says, I want to buy a new car. Then all of a sudden, everything they do, they end up buying a new car. It's always funny how that happens. But it's the same concept in your life. When you start to research, when you start to try to figure things out, when you look into what type of businesses exist, because everybody thinks, man, I'm gonna get into business and I have to create this groundbreaking item. You ain't got to do any of that.
Nope.
Because Honda makes cars, Nissan makes cars, Ford makes cars, Hyundai makes cars, Lexus, all these car makers, right? They all make cars. They ain't coming up with anything crazy, but there's a reason you go buy the Honda versus the Toyota, or there's a reason you go buy the Lexus over the Hyundai, or the Ford over the Honda. So, you know what I mean? So there's a reason why you do it. So understand that even though you may play in the same lane as somebody else, they're not you, but you need to figure out what makes you. You will not figure out what makes you if you don't go do. You don't move into what makes you do what you do. I had to figure that out. Tyrus had to figure that out. Yep. But the only way we could figure that out is because we went and researched and we put ourselves around people. And then we started to hone in. Oh, yeah, I do that really good. And then we said, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to keep that. And then now this doesn't quite sit right with me, so I'm not gonna do that no more. And you gotta fail. And so that's the second piece to this is go out and fail. Like, stop being afraid to fail. And I'm gonna tie my fifth principle into this part. And it, you know, so that way y'all get it. But like, poverty-minded people don't fail, because they say, this is the hand that I've been dealt. This is what I do. This is just what I have, and there's nothing that can change it. People who have rich mentalities, who have producer mentalities, say it doesn't matter what it is. Tyrus just said it himself without even knowing it. Yeah, Corey could probably go learn how to make computers. It's just not the right fit for what he should probably do.
Right.
I always said that the only reason somebody's better at doing what they're doing is just because they've probably been doing it longer, got a little bit more knowledge than I do, know a little bit more technique than I do. They understand the backside of maybe some business and stuff. And it's not a knock on anybody else. I don't feel like I'm better than anybody else. It's just that when you place yourself in a position, you can tell you can tell yourself that I'm valuable and I know what I'm doing. So that's principle 5, or that's rule 5. And also the second thing, that you go fail. Because without failing, without getting kicked off the football team, without dang near flunking out of college, like without growing up broke, like I wouldn't be where I am today, because I didn't fail enough for me to figure out who I am. And I guess the third part I'll say to that, for those of you who may be sitting here saying, well, I failed a whole bunch. You know, I've started to explore, you know, what it is, you know, that I'm doing or whatnot. And I think I found my purpose. Go find a coach. And the reason I say that is, for those of you who have reached that point, you're probably other people's coach and you don't know it. But the coach needs a coach. And that's why even in the greatest organizations, you see the head coach, and then he probably has some mentors, but there's like a GM and somebody else who runs some upper level stuff. But there's somebody that's still feeding into that person. So go find a coach. And I ain't trying to sell you on nothing. I ain't trying to be like, oh man, you know, get with Tyrus or myself. Sure, get with us. Get with somebody though, because when you get around people who have done it already, and then they can close the gap instantly for you.
Yep.
Instantly. That's the biggest difference. So all these people, and I really want people to understand that these are practical steps. Like, literally, go out and fail. Try something. If it don't work, cool, whatever. Did it light that fire inside of you? If it did, cool, go do it again. If you were like, that was kind of boring, and you'll know once that happens, like you kind of get this twitch. Go fail. Go explore yourself. Who are you? What do you do best? What lights that fire inside of you? Take the assessment. That way you can close the gap on that. And then you can figure out what really lights the fire under you already. But we just can't tell you what the purpose behind, like Tyra said. And then you can go figure out and be like, okay, I know what I like to do. Let me go find which lane I should be doing that in. And then go move. But that final piece is so pivotal. Go find a coach. Because that coach is going to close a gap that none of your friends going to be able to close. Your mama not going to be able to close it. Your daddy not going to be able to close it. Your little cousin who went to college, they ain't going to be able to close that gap. Go get you someone. Go find someone. Go find a program. Go find a course, an online course, a book, whatever it is. Find yourself a coach. Tyrus, that's all I'm going to leave for the people.
Man, you dropped pretty much everything that I was going to say. So I don't need to even add nothing, but other than where we talked about this before, in order to think outside the box and get out of that rat race, the hamster wheel, whatever you want to call it, conventional wisdom, get around people who are outside of the box too. Get outside. And before I go down that route, what Corey's telling you about a coach, if you're on the inside of the box, you can't read the label on the outside. Somebody got to be outside the box reading it for you. If you take in the picture, you in the picture frame, you can't see the result until after it's done. You got to trust the photographer.
Come on with it.
Trust that the coach that you select can guide you. You can't guide yourself. You can't position yourself right. You don't know where the hair falling right. You don't know if your glass is crooked. None of that. You trust a photographer. And so, as an extension of getting a coach, get in a community of like minded people going in the same direction. Not a community of the people that's going in the same wrong direction, but the right direction. I had somebody tell me today, they was like, on the call, you mentioned your goals as far as net worth and finances. And when you said that, I was like, ooh, I got to up my goals. I set my goals financially because of what I seen people in our circle set their goals to be. Last Monday, when one of our coaches said, you know what, I want to make 100 grand a month, I said, ooh, 100K a month? What do I need to do to get where he at? That's the power of being in a community that thinks outside the box. See, if I were to go back to a community that didn't think, they'd be like 100K a month. People don't make that a year. There's no way you can make that. But we glorify Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, all of those top billionaires for what they have been able to achieve, but we won't support one another in trying to achieve the same thing.
Oh, just remember, Tyra, they just blessed. That's all.
Just blessed.
They just blessed.
And highly favored.
Yeah.
It just fell
That's all.
in their lap. No, it's not true. They worked for that. They got around people who would support them in that. When I heard somebody say, you know what, I want to make 100K a month, I said, I got to get my goals right. And I set my goals. And then by me voicing what my financial goals were, somebody else that was, I won't say underneath me, but that's in the same community that's looking where I'm going. They said, you know what, Tyra said, he said this, I got to up my goals now. I got to up my net worth. I got to create what I need to create. And Corey, that goes back to being producers. We're not saying, oh man, that's a lot of money. I don't really know how I'm gonna do it. Hopefully somebody give me something. Everybody that's a producer says, you know what do I need to do now? What moves do I need to make? To go back to your point of move, what dreams do I need to dream? What do I need to give up in order to do that? Because it's sacrifice there. You ain't making 100K a month unless you're sacrificing something.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to do it. You have to sacrifice time. You got to invest money. It takes money to make money. For all of you, and I'm going to leave y'all with this. For all of you want to be investors, whether it's stocks, real estate, precious metals, whatever you think you can buy, stop trying to get into it for free. Stop trying to pick somebody's brain. Stop trying to ask them, can you shadow them? And can they teach you? And can they show you for free? No, they cannot. They should not, because everything, all the knowledge they have, they paid for. I'm gonna let y'all go with this one. There's a guy that comes on. He's probably spent, he says, millions of dollars in his education and bought lessons from losing money. He gives away, Corey, so much information. I went and looked at it because he put a Google Drive link, all kind of documents, all kind of videos. And then he said, you know what? All this is free. If you want, I can walk you through it hand to hand, 24-hour access. And I think he said it was $2,500
Oh, that's a steal.
for a year, I think. $2,500. And there were people commenting on his post saying, why are you charging? Your price should be lower. But these are the people who say that they want to get into an industry like real estate and they want to make millions and they want to make hundreds of $1,000s a month. And I want to make $50,000 a month. But you won't spend $2,500 on a coach?
And check this, Tyrus. If you're not willing to invest $2,500, $3,000 in yourself, don't expect to make $2,500, $3,000.
Oh, boom, right there. How can you expect to make money and not pay? That's like wanting to watch TV on an 85-inch, but you don't want to buy it. And you got to go over somebody else's house that's got it. Can I borrow your car? Man, we can go all night on that.
Yeah. And here's the thing. They're underlyingly telling themselves, I'm not that valuable. I don't think I can take that information and go do something with it.
Wow.
I'm going to just be honest. That's it. If you're not willing to spend money on yourself in that amount, because people thought, oh man, here's $50, because there's no risk in it. if you're not willing to spend the $2,500, the $3,000, the $10,000, the $15,000, if you're not willing to spend that on yourself, how can you expect someone to want to spend that on you?
Wow. That's a mic drop on that one. And you know what? There was a time when I thought the same way until I realized that if I wanted something, I had to pay to get it. And now my mindset has changed. There are some groups that I want to get in where I know their fees are just out of where my range, but my thought process is I don't want to pay it. My thought process now is what do I need to do and how do I get to the point to where I can fit into that circle, because I know that circle will take me to the next level or whatever you want to call it. If my mentor, my late mentor, he was in a group, I never figured out what group it was because we just didn't discuss it before he passed. You had to have $1 million net worth to be in the first level group. They took you from 1 million to 5 million. Once you got in the 5 million group, you went from 5 to 10. They took you to the next level. Barbara Corcoran was in one of those groups, one of the higher level groups, because we know she's a multi-millionaire. He had direct link. There was a link to her because of the organization and the group. I want the same thing. Now it's about how to get there. How do you get in those masterminds? People want to start masterminds and want them to be free. Why would Bill Gates come spend time with us for free when he can hang around people like Warren Buffett and they can figure out how to make more money? Think about what you want, get out of the conventional wisdom, and make the move forward. Like Corey said, just start moving, start failing on your way there, making the adjustments, making the right pivot, and continue moving. Corey, you got anything else?
No, that's it, man. I want everybody to really take the rules and then even understand, as we talked about having unconventional moves and unconventional wisdom in the thought process that you have. Also think about, as many times as you say, I'm not going to spend that $2,500. I'm not going to invest in myself. I'm not going to read that book. Unconventional, that's the normal thing that people do. Unconventional wisdom says, yes, I will. Yes, I will go pour into myself. Yes, I will get a coach. Yes, I will go read that book. Yes, I will join that mastermind that I might not have. I might not feel like I have the money for it, but I actually do have it.
And I'm going to leave them with this. This is the last thing I got, and we out of here. Shout out to Terica Lynn Smith, game changer. She took her tax return to buy her first property. Put all her tax return in there. And now she's a multi-millionaire. Hundreds of units under management. A multi-million dollar development. Shops, houses. All because she took her tax return and invested it in a property that she knew would, I don't know if she knew it would make a return, but she was willing to take the risk. And I'm tired of seeing people comment and take their tax returns and try to buy a used car that ain't gonna get them nowhere. Pay off a little bit of debt. I'm with Jamal on this one. Take that money and invest it, and let the investment, the asset, pay your debt off. Because you can spend 20 years paying off debt, or you can put that money towards income producing assets, allow them to accelerate your debt payoff while you're growing a portfolio. So that's it. That's all we got. We thank you for joining us for another episode of the Empowerment Platform, where our mission is to empower you to reach your goals, whatever they may be. We'll see you next week.